All right, so this alcohol here, and by the way, you can go through and do your practice, primary, secondary, tertiary. So the one we named already, 2-phenyl 1-heptanol, what is that? Primary, good. All right, this one up here, what do you want to do first, IUPAC or common? IUPAC, okay, longest continuous chain of carbons would be 3, propanol. And where is that alcohol? First, so it's 1-propanol. And then you have a methyl group coming off the second carbon, so it's 2-methyl, 1-propanol. So hopefully all your work on Unit 3 is helping you see that, Unit 4 is definitely doable. It's just there are a lot more little teeny tiny details, little numbers to forget, and So by Unit 4, usually a lot of students are really nitpicky and know the things to look for. And then when you go back to Unit 3, I cannot believe I missed that question on the exam. All right, common for this one, cover up the alcohol, cover up that OH. Isopropyl or isobutyl? Isobutyl alcohol. Is it a primary, secondary, or tertiary alcohol? Primary, good. All right, this second structure, IUPAC, longest continuous chain of carbons, is 4. We're going to number this way. So be butane, but it's butanol. 2-butanol, which is the same as the one we did up here. But it's just written a little differently, right? So the common name, cover up the OH, that's sec-butyl alcohol. And then, is it primary, secondary, or tertiary? Secondary. Good. Right. IUPAC for this one, longest continuous chain of carbons is 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's propane, propanol, 2-propanol. 2-methyl, 2-propanol. Notice the one over here is 2-methyl 1-propanol, 2-methyl 2-propanol. So the OH is just on a different carbon. So it's a very subtle difference, but this is why you need to put a number for the OH.
So this is T-butyl alcohol.
This is T-butyl alcohol. So when you cover up the OH, it's the T-butyl alkyl group, so T-butyl alcohol. So review those alkyl groups again if they're fuzzy.
So the exam, you might have IUPAC and common, or like it doesn't matter. Right.
When I ask you for a name, I'll accept IUPAC or common.
Okay, so if you have it here, you have to get the common one. Okay.
But I could say, draw the structure for T-butyl alcohol.
Yeah.
Still know it, right. All right, T-butyl alcohol, primary, secondary, or tertiary? So look at the carbon that bears the OH. See how many other carbons it's bonded to. Tertiary. All right. Oh dear. Look at all the stuff we have. All right. So look for carbons. Find the longest continuous chain of carbons. 5. Okay. Oh my gosh. So you have the diols. Good. So it's pentane diol. Left to right on numbering. Yes. Your alcohols, either way you number, are going to be 3. So it's going to be 3,3-pentane diol. But what's the name of this group here? Amino. Your amino would be 2 or 4. So you would go with a lower numbering scheme. So you'll go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 2 amino, 3,3-pentane diol. Just like you did with Unit 3. If you have dimethyl, then you need to have 2 numbers to tell me where those methyl groups are. When you have a diol, so whenever you have that prefix, you need to have 2 numbers.
And so the only difference is from like a diene or something is where you have the double bonds and you have like that lower numbering.
Mm-hmm.
Here you're going with
The
amino
carbon
since
with-
earlier in the alphabet. So.
Right. Right, but either way we number it could be, the diol would be 3, 3. That makes sense. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this case. But we start from the other end because of that amino group.
Right. If there was no amino group, it wouldn't matter which way you numbered, because they're in the middle. This last structure is a cautionary example because remember what we learned down here. This is phenol. This is not phenol because it doesn't have the alternating single and double bonds. Yes, it's one of those psychos, right? Yeah, if you don't put the cyclo, it will go psycho. I don't know, whatever you can say to yourself to make yourself remember the cyclo part. So this is cyclohexanol. It's para-amino cyclohexanol, is that right? No, I can't say para because it's not an aromatic, right? It's not a benzene. I can only say 4. So 4-amino cyclohexanol. Do you have a question?
You never have to put 1 on like cycle, like the.
It's, think of it like
Because you know you're
The OH is always number.
yes, so the OH, so I'll write this here. The OH is always number 1. Just like in this example, the double bond is always number 1. So that's 3-methyl cyclopentene.
This last 2 are secondary.
What's that?
Are the last 2 secondary?
Secondary? Yes. And we don't worry about classifying diols.
But you always have to put like on long continuous change, you always have to put like 1. Like that. Okay.
All right, so on the next page,
That's what you said that this one, the 2-amino 3,3-diol was secondary.
I don't worry, with diols, don't worry about classifying as primary or secondary or tertiary. Okay. So here's that phenol that I mentioned. So it's the benzene with the OH. Like before with your aromatics, you can have IUPAC and common. The IUPAC lists the number. The common, ortho, meta, or para. When you have two substituents. So in this case, we have phenol as the parent, kind of like toluene. This is always number 1. So this is, IUPAC would be 2-chlorophenol. What would the common be? O. So O, chlorophenol. So how would you name this next one? Phenol. So remember cyano. Meta-cyano. So what's NO2? Nitro. Good. So it's 4-nitrophenol. And the common would be p-nitrophenol. Good. Now,
So double bonds even doesn't have to go 1 to 2. You know.
no, and remember with these double bonds, you're just taking a picture at that particular moment. They're always rotating. And the bond lengths are all the same. The bonds are exactly the same in benzene. So you don't have to be concerned about getting it between carbons 1 and 2. Other questions? All right, the next functional group we're going to learn, thiol mercaptan nomenclature. So this is a lot like OH, it's SH. So we're dealing with the sulfurs. So IUPAC nomenclature, you have the number, then the alkane. You keep the E on the alkane because thiol starts with a constant, so you don't drop it. So alkane thiol. So in this case, like all IUPAC names, you find the longest continuous chain of carbons. You number so that the thiol gets the lowest possible number. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's butane, but because it has that SH, it's butane thiol. Good. And what am I missing? Number 2, yes. So 2-butane thiol. Yes, so I know it's easy to get them all mixed together, so you kind of have to keep going over that table in the front of your note packet on page 63 of your pink book. Okay, the common, cover up the SH, name the alkyl group, sec-butyl, sec-butyl mercaptan. So hopefully by giving you a preview of all the functional groups you will be learning, it's not so jarring to get them. But I mean, I think at any point it's overwhelming. So just like with alcohols, you have diols, that's 2 alcohols. You can have 2 SHs, that's dithiol. So 2 SHs is a dithiol. And the nomenclature for dithiols is the same as diols. You put 2 numbers, so it's number, comma, number, alkane. The suffix is dithiol. So this first example that I have doesn't have a line for common, doesn't have a common name. But we can name it using IUPAC nomenclature. What's the parent here? So it's cyclopropane. So if you're completely lost on a quiz or an exam, go back to your Unit 3. Go back to IUPAC. Think, what's the parent? If I can at least identify the parent, then maybe I can get a point or two, out of 3. So cyclopropane. And I did not give myself enough space. I should have shifted it over this way. Cyclopropane.
You still have to, the number 1 is that's good.
Cyclopropane dithiol. Since there are 2 SHs, we could have 1,2 cyclopropane dithiol. Or you could have 1,1. So if it was just 1 SH, then you wouldn't put the number. But since it's 2 SHs, you need to put 2 numbers. So 1, 1 cyclopropane dithiol. All right, I'm going to leave these. I want you to work these because it's similar to alcohols, but it's just a different ending. I'll wander around. Keep it up. This one, longest continuous chain of carbons is 3. So 2 methyl, 1 propane thiol. Common, cover up that SH. It's isobutyl mercaptan. And then this last one is a dithiol. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4 cyclohexane dithiol. This is the point where you start having crazy dreams because all these nomenclature rules are going
This is
through
like
your
our
head.
anatomy version of the muscle memories.
Yes. Yes, everything all glued together.
It's like say it 10 times fast.
Any questions about thiols or alcohols? Dithiols, diols. Remember on the exam, everything's going to be all mixed together. So,
So we're gonna start once we get like each one broke down like this. We're gonna get to like where it'll have maybe a mercaptan group and a alcohol group and whatever. And then does that go alphabetic wise, like as
Yes.
far as how we're tackling it?
yes, it's going to get longer, going to get crazier. Yeah.
So this is kind of like basically how you name biochemistry.
Right, and it was this unit. I one time I had a deaf student, and she had interpreters, and the interpreters would have to learn. They would have to go through the flashcards, right? They had to learn the symbols on the periodic table, and So, and it was a 7 a.m. class, and they were troopers. They came, every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. But at one point, one of the interpreters just started laughing because it was just like, I think it was in a mean. It was like ethyl, methyl, TV, like all these names all stuck together, and then ether. And she thought it was so funny because she's not in the class and she's hearing these crazy names. Trying to sign it real quickly.
Props there.
I know, yeah. So, but yeah, it does get more complicated. But you will be able to, half the battle with Unit 4 is just being able to recognize the functional groups. So if you work on experiment 13, that's just recognizing functional groups and, you know, making sure that when you see something like I get a lot of students who circle this and they'll say this is an ether and this is a ketone. But that's not the functional group. What's the functional group? It's an ester. So whenever you have that C double bond O, look to the left, look to the right. If you see anything other than carbons, that's going to influence what functional group it is. But just being able to differentiate these functional groups will take you a long way in Unit 4. So we'll stop here. I want you guys to be fresh for ethers.
That's your lesson.